Lock the players out. Lock them out. Put some real pressure on them. Send them an email. Hey, if our proposal doesn't get finished by this date, from every day there on after, the offer will get considerably worse.
There is a very thin, extremely hazardous line between maintaining your position and music, losing all sense of reality in the high-stakes theater of professional sports negotiations. The side with the most just cause is rarely the winner when a labor dispute turns into a staring contest. The side that truly music comprehends the battlefield's mathematics wins. The WNBA Players Association and the league's ownership groups have been embroiled in a high-profile, widely reported impasse for the last 16 months. Armed with Caitlin Clark, an unparalleled cultural phenomenon, the union leadership entered the boardroom. They thought music had the most power at last. They went all out to demand an astounding 27.5% of the league's gross revenue in order to fundamentally alter the financial structure of women's music basketball. Music, it was a daring, forceful first move. However, as the crucial March 10th music deadline approaches, the union plan has changed from a self-assured power play to an utterly chaotic, mathematically nonsensical circus. However, to write off the players as merely avaricious or naive would be to overlook the extremely cunning business strategies being used by the millionaires seated on the other side of the table. We're seeing a clash between an emotionally charged workforce that wants their fair part of the unexpected gold rush, and music, a group of merciless tycoons who would gladly destroy the entire season in order to keep their exclusive hold on the vault. Greetings from the breakdown. Let's examine the union's most recent proposal's stunning failure, the league's infrastructure's indisputable physical constraints, and the terrible truth about the ownership's accounting strategies that makes an explosive offer the only terrifying outcome of this conflict. Let's start by analyzing the precise point at when the corporate world virtually lost faith in the union's ability to negotiate. A counterproposal is intended to close a gap in any legal financial transaction. It indicates a readiness to make concessions and brings the needle closer to a workable settlement. The union was aware that the owners were keeping the company at a severely constrained 15% revenue share. Utterly repulsed by the initial 27.5% demand, the executive committee ultimately made the decision to blink after realizing that their rank-and-file members were starting to panic, music, over the possibility of an entirely unfunded labor lockout. They gleefully leaked to the media that they were making concessions in music good faith in order to salvage the 2026 season, and they filed a fresh offer. Listen to the real, unadulterated figures in that purportedly significant concession to understand why the ownership group saw it as nothing more than a smack in the face.
Send them an email. Hey, if our proposal doesn't get finished by this date, from every day there on after, the offer will get considerably worse.
Their gross revenue demand decreased to 26% from 27.5%. Their proposal for a pay cap was reduced from $9.5 million to $9.45 million. This is hardly a compromise when it comes to billion-dollar corporate equity. This insult was done poorly. Imagine entering a high-end car dealership and being offered $20,000 for a $50,000 vehicle. And you proudly follow the dealer into the parking lot to make a $20.50 offer after he laughs and leaves. You haven't strengthened your negotiation position. Instead, you've just shown the seller that you don't care about the product's market value at all. The leadership of the union is working under the strange delusion that they can magically close a gap of hundreds of millions of dollars by gradually reducing their demands by tiny, statistically insignificant fractions. However, the union's proposal's blatant incoherence goes much beyond the numbers. It blatantly disregards the unquestionable physical limitations of the exact ecosystem they are trying to tax. The union executives are blindly projecting that top-tier revenue throughout the entire 36-team landscape while observing the enormous undue sold-out crowds in Indianapolis and New York, which are solely generated by the economies of Caitlin Clark and Sabrina Ionescu. Regardless of the market, they are requesting a $9.5 million wage cap for each and every club. size, or their contracts for local television. Music, they are trying to fit a payroll the size of a stadium into an infrastructure the size of a high school. Listen to the harsh, unforgiving reality check on the WNBA facility's actual seating numbers and why a $9 million wage is practically unattainable for a sizable portion of the league.
This offer, 26% gross revenue share over the life of the deal, and $9.45 million salary cap in 2026. The previous WNBA offer, 15% gross revenue share over the life of the deal, and
the Washington Mystics play in a venue that can hold up to 4,200 spectators. The arena where the Atlanta Dream perform is precisely 3,500 seats. This is the unbreakable brick wall that violently breaks the union's public relations narrative. Physics cannot be disputed. Music, a franchise's highest gross gate revenue for the full year, is less than $4 million if they play 22 home games and sell out every seat in a 3,500-seat facility at an average ticket price of $50. Ownership groups whose physical premises can only theoretically generate $4 million in ticket sales are being actively pressured by the union to voluntarily sign a legally enforceable contract guaranteeing a $9.5 million payroll of 1 million players. The multi-million-dollar costs, music, for recently required charter flights, administrative wages, insurance premiums, and arena maintenance are not even close to being covered by that payroll. Half of the league is being asked by the union to ensure an endless negative return on investment. A corporate death pact won't be signed by any private equity firm in the world to pacify employees who don't comprehend the fundamentals of commercial real estate constraints. However, we must present the crucial, extremely cynical counterargument that the mainstream sports media mostly ignores before we fully denounce the players' union for their statistical overreach. These enormous, seemingly unreasonable demands are not being made by the players out of pure avarice. Music, they are doing this because they have a deep and well-founded mistrust of the millionaires seated on the other side of the table. The WNBA owners claimed poverty for 28 years. They informed the players that the NBA greatly subsidizes music and that the league is a charity that operates at a huge deficit. However, television ratings treble when Caitlin Clark shows up. After a $2.2 billion media rights agreement is reached, franchise values suddenly soar from $20 million to over $150 million. In only a single year, the league's riches skyrocketed. However, the owners made a proposal that capped the players at 15% of net revenue when it came time to bargain. In the shadowy realm of business, net revenue is a famously misleading measure in accounting. It is the money that remains after all possible operating expenses have been subtracted by the owners. The players are fully aware of how to play this game. They are aware that the owners will aggressively write off marketing spending, artificially inflate front office pay, and claim significant asset depreciation, all of which will virtually guarantee that the net profit is constantly close to zero. The Caitlin Clark surplus is being concealed by the owners through Hollywood accounting tricks. In an awkward, frantic, and ultimately unsuccessful attempt to get around the billionaire's accounting methods and ensure that the players see the money before the music, accountants conceal it. The union is demanding 26% of gross top-line revenue. There is no denying the union's math awful, but they have a right to be suspicious of the ownership class. Because both parties are firmly established, the owners are protected by corporate conceit, and the players are blinded by mistrust. Officially, the negotiations have come to a deadlock. When both parties think the other is acting dishonestly, logic is no longer a viable solution. The ownership groups are getting ready to go from passive negotiation to active psychological warfare in order to end this impasse. They are getting ready to use the most brutal and extensively weaponized strategy in labor dispute history. Listen to the specific, extremely aggressive business plan that the ownership groups need to put into action right away, along with the details of how it is intended music to totally destroy any lingering unity inside the union.
And I think he put it right. The owners need to say, this is my offer. This is my final offer. Every day after today that you don't accept this, the offer will get worse and worse and worse and worse. Really lay down the law.
I am aware that if the proposal is not completed by the deadline every single day after that, the offer becomes much worse. For a working-class athlete whose livelihood is solely dependent on the future season, this is the most horrifying idea. A strict deadline of March 10th has been set by the owners. However, if there are no serious immediate repercussions for missing a music deadline, it is entirely meaningless. The union music executives will just hold out, mounting PR campaigns and expecting the owners finally give in under media scrutiny, if they think the 15% revenue-sharing offer will patiently remain on the table through Music April. To demolish music that is untrue, the owners must provide active compounding financial degradation to the environment in order to provide a sense of stability. Music, they have to give the union executives a direct look, take away the safety net, and make clear what the punishment entails. Listen to former sports executive David Sampson explain in elegant detail how this brutal tactic, music, was executed flawlessly and how the owners had to set the rules in order to get a signature. 22 home games, 4,200 seats for the Washington Mystics and 3,500 seats for the Atlanta Dream. Your desired salary is $9.5 million. Are you serious? Going to lunch. Before this can occur, we must build the game and ride the momentum. This is my last proposal. Every day after today, when you refuse to acknowledge this, both the offer and the music will continue to deteriorate. This tactic is a masterclass in asymmetrical pressure. The tycoons and magnates who hold these franchises are shielded from any immediate financial, music, hardship. They can afford to take a short-term tax write-off and cancel the 2026 season. However, the 80% of the league's music rank-and-file players who are currently in unrestricted free agency are completely in need of a steady salary. The owners use the calendar as a weapon against the union leadership when they make an explosive offer. The owners formally remove the music 15% revenue share from the table on March 11th and replace it with 14%. The guaranteed housing subsidies are terminated on March 12th. Music on March 13th, they reduce the minimal wage requirements. The gamers lose hundreds of thousands of dollars in guaranteed collective wealth each and every time the sun rises. Athletes without large shoe endorsements, defensive specialists, and bench players will all fear right away. They will bombard the executive committee's cell phones, yelling at the leadership and insisting that they sign the agreement right away before it falls apart entirely. The union's solidarity will brutally break apart from the inside out. The owners will obtain a much-reduced collective bargaining agreement, and the executive committee will be ousted, music, by its own fearful membership. Accord without ever having to make a single concession. A basic misperception about corporate development timeframes is the tragedy of this entire labor fight. The WNBA eventually had one music year of enormous, unheard-of success after functioning as a financial black hole for 30 years. In the actual world of business, you don't instantly demand to cash out a third of the gross equity after your first profitable quarter. A conservative bridge agreement is signed by you. Without the novelty of a rookie class, you demonstrate that television ratings are sustainable. You demonstrate your ability to turn those new viewers into lifelong generational supporters. Following the establishment of an indisputable baseline of consistent profitability, you return to the meeting and insist on the Supermax contracts. However, the union's seasoned leadership stake the sport's whole future on a large, unfunded cash grab, motivated by a toxic concoction of righteous fury and the dread understanding that their own athletic windows are soon shutting. Against a group of billionaires who wrote the book on corporate leverage, they totally overplayed their hand. They are currently facing an explosive offer that will methodically destroy their financial prospects. The deadline of March 10th for music is the ultimate corporate execution. The players' union has no leverage at all, and the owners are lazily resting their hands on the lever. Prevent the blade from dropping. What is your unbiased, highly analytical opinion of this stunning financial collision? Do you think the union's decision to lower their demand to 26% is a ridiculous insult or a sincere, albeit awkward, attempt at negotiation? Do you agree that the owners' use of Hollywood accounting to conceal their true earnings justifies the players' demand for gross revenue? More significantly, do you think the owners will truly make an explosive offer on March 11th to subdue the terrified players? Post your frank, unvarnished analysis in the space provided for comments below. If you're looking for the unwavering truth about the genuine music strategy, the real business, and the real ruthless to ensure you never miss a deep dive into the business politics of professional sports, press the subscribe button, ruthlessly bash the like button, and enable the bell notification. This channel does not feature mainstream media nonsense. Music, we show the frightening corporate math behind the press conferences, we look into the accounting loopholes, and we expose the leverage. I'll see you all at the next breakdown.